Let's pull up chat. How are we doing, everybody? How we doing? All right, just pull up the chat. AMS this weekend. AMS this weekend, but never never stops. The weather does. Never stops. So we're gonna track it. All right. No. One tweet. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So I know there's a lot of talk about the upcoming pattern. There's a lot of talk. Um, a lot of people going back and forth in terms of thoughts, and people going off about the AccuWeather and all that stuff. But I mean, really, people are like, AccuWeather moment, but Bernie's making that forecast and he's actually using it and not just breaking down like the models that are like 12 days out or whatever, 7 days out. He's not just, throwing out, he's not just throwing out stuff. Like it's not out of, not like there isn't any reason. There's a reason for what he's talking about. So it's not like he's at the current model run this far out and saying whether or not where he thinks the snow's going to set up. That's not what they're doing. They're actually using intuition, history, science for reason, and not just, I like to use the word modology, however you want to say it. There's a little bit more that goes into it. A lot of people are talking about 50-50 low. Listen, just look at the setup. I mean, people are so focused on what the specifics of a 50-50 low. We're not. We're just looking at this. We're like 6-7 days out. I mean, we're not even worrying. We just got to look at the setup for what it is. And where I start with this is where is it coming ashore? And of course, we black out the hour that it comes across. Seriously, that 66-hour loop. It is going to come ashore. Get the level of energy. It's going to come ashore. San Francisco is where it's coming ashore. And I talked about it, and we've talked about the Norm Macdonald rule. It's not just burning. There's other people who've talked about it before, but we talked about it on here. Where storms enter latitude on the west coast is where they exit latitude on the east coast. I think that's about the same latitude, roughly. It's hard to say exactly. If we go, let me get the United States view. Yeah, that's roughly right. So theoretically, somewhere around the Delmarva, based on this model run, is where upper level low, where it was where our energy is going to come off the coast. Maryland. I mean, yeah, we're going to go into exactly where, but I want to break down the setup first. But yes, to answer your question, we'll break into why, and we'll talk about this one too after. But Everybody's always the biggest prize. So, and there's not really ceiling with this one. We talked about it, I think, a couple of years ago. I think there's like a 3 to 6 million on this one. I saw, but minor event. But yeah, I mean, this is where upper level lows come across are big, right? This is the center where it's going to across central northern California, and so the theory is where it enters latitude is where it exits, and this is all just a big mess. Once we start this far out, we got different pieces coming in that are trying to phase for some reason, elongates. Don't even focus on any of that right now. Okay, we'll focus on those details as we get closer. For right now, right, because this is just you rarely see your upper level low stretched out like this. With this big of a system and this strong of a system, you don't typically see it like stretched out in like pieces. Like that's not typically how you see your upper level low. Doesn't mean it won't. We'll see how it turns out, but I wouldn't get too focused on it exactly. So this is why everybody that's looking, you get here, and then you track how much the rain snow line changed from run to run. Like this is what you do. You're not understanding the setup really when you do this. So I know people are focused on like 50-50 low pressure, and you need your transfer or whatever. I mean, you're focused on too many little details, too many specific details. So far out, we're still trying to figure out. We still need this to come ashore. Like this is when we start to hone down on specific regions for where this sets up. But where this is entering, I'm gonna say anywhere really. I mean, anywhere really here has a chance to get snow with this event. I think. I mean, realistically speaking, I'm not an expert on these areas. Sorry, live here. Know anybody that lives here? Sorry. I could specify in that, but I don't know it well enough. At least not yet. Maybe eventually. But I think this is good to say in game. Yeah, I think I include the elevations, right? Include the elevations. They can always manufacture stuff just because of when you're 1,500 to 3,000 feet up, you can make some stuff happen regardless of where your latitude is in the U.S. But system we're going to come across, right? This is late week system. We're going to get right. Our Pacific is turned on. We're going to have a big western ridge, so that's going to allow an opportunity for lots of amplification off the eastern. So here's what has me excited: a system that's going to come across this latitude. It's going to exit roughly right. You got to imagine our exit latitude is going to be somewhere in here, and we're going to be working with an amplifying system, or a real amplified. We're going to be working with a real amplified flow that's going to be pulling in some really deep moisture, and contrary to what people think, we're going to have some cold air in place. The reason why it doesn't look like there's a lot of cold air in place is because this is such an amplified system, and the vorticity gets so dragged out in the system. The reason why you're seeing all this warm air is because, no crap, when it elongates, when the trough is this deep, and it decides to pull in the upper level low into Ohio, and amplifies and pulls in all of the warm Caribbean moisture up the eastern seaboard, no crap, you're gonna be warmer. So everybody's talking about this being warmer. When you're pulling in this deep of a moisture source, yes, right, you're gonna pull in some really warm air, and with the upper level low, with all these specifics messed up, you're gonna get all these different variations of warm air being pulled farther north to different locations. and your cold air, even though it's not some ridiculously great Arctic output, um, this doesn't mean you don't have cold air in place. I'm seeing everywhere. If only it was cold air in place, people, it's going to be what, January 13th in the Northeast. Okay, unless we're pulling in some ridiculous ridge, which we're not, we're going to have cold air to work with. Even if it's just regular, what's average to work with, that's plenty, right? All of this is track. This is just it models figuring out track at this point. This is not right. If I show you the euro from 12Z today, it's track. It's track. Everybody's talking warm. The euro is it's track. It's not because there isn't cold air in place. And I'll show you in a second. I'm gonna show you 500. I mean, where the euro come was, I mean, it's not too far off at first from the GFS. The way it pulls it off, you just get super elongated, kind of messed up, a little messy like the GFS as well. Almost like an upper level low inside another, an upper level low. It's like one trough inside another trough, where it's almost like a trough setup, and for some reason all of it gets pulled northward, and like there's no centered upper level low really, just kind of gets stretched out. All this gets pulled north, like it's completely messed up. This is all just on the system. There's cold air out in front. However, there's no way you can't deny that there's cold air out in front of the system. I show you that cold air. This is your seasonal cold air, right? This is not. It's not like it's ridiculously cold. This is not. We're not pulling in the polar vortex all the way from up here and bringing it down. But this is cold air. This is cold air. We can work with it. The rest of this is you can see it clearly. Warm air gets flooded northward just because of the track of the system, right? And we're going to be pulling warm air north somewhere with such an amplified system. You get such a deep trough, you're going to pull in warm air northward, as you can see, right? Right, you can see our system here pulling up all this warm air. You're going to pull in warm air somewhere to the east of where your system is, just regardless. So where that's not going to change. So people can get, can talk about all the lack of cold air there is, which technically it's true. We don't have a ridiculous source of cold air in place. We don't have some deep Arctic cold air in place. It's true. However, the system isn't going to happen because there's not enough cold air in place. That's not the reason. There will be more track in how the evolution of the system evolves, but it's not going to be because there wasn't any cold air in place before. So we can kind of dispel that. I mean, you can see it, right? This is next Wednesday. Look at, I mean, that's good Arctic air to work with. Take a look at the euro. Where's my temperatures? Go surface. Nope. That you're gonna tell me we don't have cold air to work with out in front of this system? It's ridiculous. Damn, Uh, I wish I could tell you about specifics, but um, I mean, look, there's your cold air out in front of the system, right? 3.5 days out ahead the 6 day time frame when the systems or whatever. You know, and if it's as dynamic as a system as it looks like it's going to be, it'll be a long duration system too. So there'll be opportunities for people that can manage to stay. This is more specific of a detail that I don't want to get into, but that's why there's a good ceiling with this system is people are going to be able to stack up snow. I mean, I kind of just discussed that. I mean, really, I wouldn't get too worked up. It's not a cutter. I can show you. Just where it pulls in the upper level low. And the exit, I think it's exit latitude and all this. The timing of this piece phasing right now is meant this whole system completely. I think this is amplifying a little bit too soon. This is amplifying a little bit too soon. Um, this is, I mean, our system. Look where our system's coming ashore. I mean, we're going to talk about the Norm Macdonald rule. Well, that wasn't completely flat, but I tried to even it out at the end, right? Somewhere about here, we're on the same latitude. Uh, I mean, listen, I know I can't focus on, I can't control what other people say, even if they're respectable. I can't control what other people say. I can only look at what I know, and I'm not looking at P-type maps. I'm not looking at ensemble P-type maps. I'm just looking at how I've always forecasted. It's worked okay. Still getting better, it's learning, but it's worked okay. When you can look at uh, ensembles, that's a good look. I mean, a neutral trough just north of Georgia, slightly tilted positive. 6 days out. I mean, I agree with myself. That's why I agree with. I mean, listen, these are my thoughts. These are not anyone else's. I see other people's thoughts. Sometimes they influence a little bit, but I try not to let it too badly lean me one way or the other. People, getting worked up over certain specific runs, etc. The hysteria that gets created. People, they go back and forth on that line like every 12 hours between storm on, and I just don't think that's an effective way to do this. You gotta be able to filter out certain, not necessarily people as a whole, but you gotta filter out information. I mean, I told you we have cold air. If you were watching before, we went over the whole thing about cold and warm air. Cold air. If you live, cold air is not going to be a problem depending on track. I'd say at a minimum for these spots, but especially not going to be a problem, I think, for these folks, especially here. Now, I'm saying that and not saying, oh, well, it's guaranteed snow. I'm just telling you, there's a good enough amount of cold air that's in place prior to this system. So I don't want you to think that it's just gonna be completely controlled by the fact that there's no cold air. That's just not true. The people you hear talking about it's too warm and it's not going to be able to happen. Um, Maybe they're talking about their specific regions and it's farther south, or they're just not. Okay, he's having some dreams. That's good. He's getting some sleep. You mind screaming here, dog? Ensembles? Oh, uh, I mean, we're looking at them right now. We're just looking at them. Euro's a little bit more amplified than the GF, it looks like. Um, I don't think we're going to learn a lot about the low pressures, but I mean, hey, I mean, this can work. I mean, this can very much work. We have our block, right? We have right. It's not a sustained cold pattern, right? You can see our ridge. This is going to say hello eventually after this system, so it's not sustained. It's definitely we're not working in ridiculously cold Arctic air. We're not working in that, but we do have seasonable cold air to work with. And I see this ensemble. It doesn't quite match exactly uh, the operational. It doesn't quite match the operational. I mean, that's a fantastic. That's a fantastic look. That's a fantastic look. We got a slightly almost neutral tilted trough with a really amplified pattern with an almost neutral tilted trough. I mean, what over Carolina, North Carolina, right? I mean, heck, I like that. Take a look. Yep, Euro's a little bit more amplified. We just talked about 12Z2. I mean, hey, I mean this. I don't know if the ensembles are matching some of the operational ones as much. I mean, this doesn't exactly scream snow north of snow north of the border. I mean, I don't see this look in it. Tell me, it doesn't for me. That doesn't scream flood of warm air inland. None of these ensembles do. They sound Fort and hiding on this. I think the ensembles look pretty good, if you ask me. Right? It's weird. It's really elongated. There's it gets just really messy, real messed up. So I'm not really looking too far into specifics. I mean, so far out, I don't think it's worth. I don't think it's worth being worked up over. I really don't think it is. I mean, trends colder. I mean, remember we were talking about it. It's not going to be about cold or warm. Um, it's not going to be about cold or warm. I think. Always. I mean, coastal I-95 is always going to be a concern. I mean, regardless, almost regardless, unless unless we have true Arctic outbreaks, we all with amplified with real amplified systems, it's going to be hard to ever rule out a chance for mix along I-95 East Coast. But um, besides, like maybe Boston, once you get to Boston, north of New York City, but this I-95 coast is always going to have concern for mixing with amplified events. You always going to have just because the upper level low works close to you, or works overhead, then you're just going to start mixing with the mid levels. That's what you start worrying about, freeze and drizzles, whatever, dry slots, etc. Um, just in general. But well, there's probably the ensembles too. Right? And also, you gotta understand these too, right? You gotta understand how to read these in the meantime. Like, yeah, okay, this is much above normal. But a degree, when you're a degree or two above average Celsius in the wintertime, remember our averages are like in the low 30s. So if you're like, I mean, like this is barely anything. You got to know how to read this, right? That's yeah, that's warm. Like you got to know how to read the difference in some of these, especially specific to the region. Because you look at that and you realize, oh, damn, it doesn't look so bad. It just looks like a lot of mid and low 30s. There's a lot of red. Now down here, I mean, we're not forecasting for mid south, so we're not as concerned. Even then, this is looking at like these temperatures for so far out. It's this isn't really a great source to use because um, there's so many different like oddball. When you have if you have a mean here for a low pressure system, right, you're gonna have some, especially so far out, some that are like all the way up here, and then some that are all the way down here, and then sometimes there's a cluster closer to here or closer to here, and then the mean gets kind of messed up from what actually is more likely to happen. So something to consider. Sometimes the law of averages evens that out and kind of works out, but without every single individual approach. I don't feel like looking right now, but it's decent cool air in place. Right? It's not great. It's not special. It's not oh my god, this is a surefire thing amount of cold air, but it's enough cold air in place, especially for the Northeast. The Northeast, there's not cold air is not going to be maybe in the Mid Atlantic a little bit more, but even then, I really think anywhere. Oh, I really think anywhere. I really think I don't know what I'm doing drawing all those Midwest places, but I want to kind of clean. I think anywhere in here is up for potential with this system. I really do. I would favor, I mean, considering models a little bit right now in the long range. Just keeping in mind, not necessarily buying what I see right now, but just keeping in mind. Um, I would say that this is where I favor the best chance to see a snowstorm. So look at the Canadian. Canadian is sometimes it's like you're drunk uncle. You do some funny things sometimes, so not always a guarantee. Yeah, it's kind of doing that elongated, yes, weird, not really worth getting specifics. Those specifics right now. I'm looking at for specifics. I'm looking at where this is entering, what latitude this is going to enter. Right, we're like a couple days away. It looks like seems like about 48, 60 hours away from this coming across California shore. Where it comes across for me is that's going to be one of the most important details. Because without our big ridge, oh Lord, no, that's not the Lord, oh Lord, that's not um, but not without just without our big ridge. This coming ashore is helping our big ridge in behind it, but without us filtering down the cold air and the deep cold air, right? Without that kind of pattern in place, right, it becomes a little bit more essential exactly where this comes across the shore, because a lot of times turns out Norm Macdonald was onto something. Exactly where this comes ashore is where it's going to come out on the other side, right? Enter where it enters latitude on the west coast is where it will exit latitude on the east coast. Call it the Norm Macdonald rule, which isn't always gospel, but every, most a lot of times most storms it's been fairly accurate. In my forecasting, so take it for what it's worth. But in with such I mean, with all these away, I mean, I just basically we're going double trough here. What we're doing, we're not consolidating it this energy for some reason. For some reason, this trough is working as a fire for this trough, for just a flood moisture northward, and that's why the mix and rain that comes across into this area right now. So that's why you see what you see at the moment. So I wouldn't look too far into it. Maybe we're working with a really messy 500 millibar evolution, and maybe this is what's going to happen. I can't tell you for sure. Um, Obviously, we hope not, but clear idea. When this comes short, oh, that's 180 hours out. Could be another chance. We'll see. Depends on how amplified. Depends on how much Pacific air we're working with after. There, there's really no reason for us not to be warm after storm. If I'm being completely honest. Um, just a complete Pacific intrusion. So, um, well, I would say to answer your first question, which I didn't answer to the best, I'd say around this time when this storm starts to enter, um, just enter Conus. I think this is when we have to start. I think that's when we have to start worrying about it, more specific region wise. I thought I addressed the other thing in the beginning. I think problem problem I have with people knowing eight, over the AccuWeather graphic is its actual forecasting. It's Bernie and probably some of his trusted workers that he works with that made that graphic map. That made that graphic map, and I think people are just being, AccuWeather, doing the thing again. It was easy to laugh at first too, but then I started to realize, for the past like year or two, that they actually that's an actual forecast, and not just models. They put themselves out there, even if it's wrong. From a forecaster's perspective, I think they, you know, people are usually afraid to put themselves out there with that platform, and I don't see anything particularly awful about it. Yeah, I mean, talk about the Christmas. Everybody was like, "Oh, Bernie's so off." I was like, "Well, listen, I would lean a little bit further east, is what I was saying at the time. But listen, he's got that's where he thinks there's going to be." I said, I think there was a chance to. Remember you talking about? I thought anywhere. I thought we were going to get an upper level low track anywhere from here to, I think I drew like here, somewhere in there. Somewhere across. I think I drew from like Ohio to here. Our upper level low track. I think went across like here, something like that. So brought myself up a little bit, but I drew like a 500-mile wide range because we like we go. But the point is, he was favoring the inland solution, right? People gave him crap about it when he fell, and it ended up being right. But now people want a two-way street. Now that he puts it for the area, now they're like, oh, it's not going to happen. Or they're like, oh, it is going to happen because he put it in my area. So now it looks better. So, it's not a miracle. Whatever's going to happen is just going to happen. There's nothing you can do to change it. There's no miracle, whatever. And not like in the fourth quarter and need a 10-point comeback. Like it's nothing crazy. Where we still don't know exactly what's going to happen with it. The problem is people define outcomes so far out that it gives so much opportunity to look like idiots. That's the problem. That's the exact problem with so many forecasters. Not I wouldn't even say forecasters, just Twitter people. That they define the outcome of the storm like 6-7 days out, and then it doesn't happen like that. They're like, oh, it changed. No, it didn't change. What was going to happen was all going to happen. The models changed, and you believed exactly what the models were saying 6-7 days out. There's the thing. That's the problem. So when you get sucked at, that's how you. The people 6 different snow maps out in like a 5-day period. Those, anybody could do that. A monkey could do that. Anybody can change the 6 times and eventually get it right by the last time. Probably I change my snow map maybe like once or twice. Sometimes twice if I want some small things that I'm questioning. But people get too worked up. I think they want to be the first to say what's going to happen sometimes, and they're just wrong. I look at ensembles, right? I prefer to dig this a little bit more where we're neutral. That was in a neutral trough. I prefer to dig this just a little bit more. It's a decent look. Part of the reason why it's like this is because it's so stretched out, and a lot of these model rooms are still moment is so stretched out that it's making it difficult to exactly figure out what kind of setup we're working with. Um, are we working with like a two-part system? Are we, what is, this piece? This piece is showing up on a lot of model runs right now at the moment. But the timing on these effects is really important. How this how this enters the system, the angle this piece enters in. Is it here or does it go straight in? Right, that matters too, right? Because the angle this piece comes in, if it's a little bit more horizontal, then we're just going to push the system a little bit until it injects, until the angle is more favorable for an easier injection phase. And at that point, once it's ready, once after the delay, then it'll start to amplify out more. Just delayed amplification of all that is. So there's a lot of different pieces. I could see how this exact scenario happens. I could see how it happens where, our Pacific jet is really turned on. Um, I could theoretically see, we were just working in some mode. Let's play this back. Um, is turned on to the maximum where we're throwing this really amplifying jet real soon. Right? We're amplifying our system further inland than usual. The thing is, though, you have you have decent blocking up here, even not necessarily polar vortex air in this blocking, but we have decent blocking, and we also do have ridge that's going to be coming. That's going to help push this system further east. Strong, right? That Pacific jet train being flooded into this ridge, so that's going to help push our storm further east, and kind of shear off, not completely shear off, but push our system a little bit further east. Um, than just a complete cutter. This is why we're not seeing a cutter. Is this ridge pushing this far east and blocking we have this far north? Um, those big two elements right there are going to prevent any sort of complete cutter from happening. Um, it's hard to say exactly how this ends up ending up right now. I can't tell you verbatim. Um, it's almost right, maybe almost just a trough inside of a trough, almost a double trough kind of. And then this piece comes down. Right, there's just a few. These details need to be cleared out, and those details will be cleared out once the system comes ashore. We'll have a much better idea. That's still 2.5 days from now. So we're almost 3 days. So we're still a little bit far away from those exact details coming out. And another part, almost a little bit system phases with this piece. So I'm curious to see calls, and you still have to wait on this one. How does this? What exactly happens with this system, right? And what's left over? How does this confluence? How far south does this dig? Because the more farther south this digs, the farther south it will push everything else as well. So there's still a lot of details that still need to be honed in on and figured out over the next 2 to 3 days. I think everything will become pretty clear by like Tuesday. I think. No, thank you. I think everything will become pretty clear by Tuesday or Wednesday, at least in my opinion. And then from there we can figure out specific details. think we're like ridiculously. Oh my god. No, this is fucking- no. But I think we're still a little bit. I think we're to be making final determinations, which people seem to be doing. But I think we get a clear idea on what region is going to be affected by Tuesday, the specific region, and then we'll start to hone in on specific needs, like actual real specific details, not just where we think has a good shot to see what us know. I think there's more to it at this point. But I don't think anybody stop, man. Stop. Likes to make known on stream too often. I think though we're in a decent spot. I mean, I'm not on what exactly model show right now. I'm not super focused on what model show right now. Like I'm taken in, but I'm not exactly like getting worked up to the point where I can make my final outcome. So I think we're playing a little bit of a waiting game right now until the system comes onto the shore. Ideally, the closer it gets to the shore, we can get a little bit better details, and we can get a clearer picture on what models are going to do. With the systems, there's always something that's moving through. I mean, even then, maybe Euro changes tonight. Does that really matter though? I mean, does it? I mean, we were just talking about it, right? We're still waiting to see for that until that comes ashore, right? How much does the Euro run really define things tonight? Ideally, we would like it to work closer to the GFS. Ideally, would be a good sign because we don't like ridiculous model disagreement, right? We expect model disagreement, but to a certain extent only. So this will work. We'll get one piece ashore that will be helpful. So this piece coming across the shore will help models. Get some good, probably 12Z tomorrow. We'll get we'll get some clear idea, and then that 2 day time frame. I think that's that's when things start to really become much clearer. That Monday night, Tuesday frame. I think we'll know if we'll know if the system to work with. Even if right what the GFS was showing was kind of true, even if like a trough inside a trough kind of still got some decent pull there to work with out in front, and we're still gonna get a front end thump. You're gonna get a front end thump with the coal there in place before, um, a little bit of a transfer low that takes place upper level low, and then perhaps around new low pressure forms. So there's still can nothing to be too uninduced with. What the GFS were to verify, which I was really skeptical of, given. I mean, it's not rare you see a dual upper level low feature inside of one big closed up, upper level low. I mean, just to me, this is just a lot of model noise, and it's pretty making a face of us. And if that's not that clue, then what is? I'm not again. People just follow. They they love to get so worked up over all those tweets. So I wouldn't. People like to get emotional. You hear their inner thoughts sometimes without them realizing the consequence they have on the impact. And ultimately, that's up to you to decide how you filter information. I made a few tweets in my time about how to filter information on social media when it comes to weather. You got to understand who's tweeting it, where do they live, where are they talking about, um, what's their past history. Like you got to understand it's not all. I mean, that's a real face thing. I mean, that's right there. But you just got to be able to filter it. You got to filter information. I promise I'm not going to BS you. If I didn't think the system had a shot, I would have told you right now. But I think there's a chance with this system. I'm not going to tell you it's a guaranteed snowstorm, but I think there's a shot for this system for Mid Atlantic and Northeast folks. You got any questions? Any final questions that you guys want me to answer? If you came in late, you can watch the beginning of the stream. That's not a question. Can't help you there, my man. And if you're just coming in late, can rewatch the whole thing. I mean, bro, I talked about the cold air for multiple segments. So if you want to play it back, you can. Especially if you live in the Northeast, cold air is not a problem with this system. It's mid January, and it's going to be just around average temps, a little above average, seasonal cold, slightly above average temps in mid January is cold enough to snowstorm. So we talked about that. Cold, cold is not a concern if you live in the Northeast. It will be more track of this system. Now that being said, it's not like couldn't be better if we had a beautiful beautiful Arctic injection, cold air out front, Arctic cold air. Now that'd be beautiful, but we don't. But that doesn't mean this it's not good enough to not get snow. Yeah, I think Mid Atlantic, Northeast folks. I think you should keep your eye on this one. And then this one, right? There's a little bit of something there. So um, some cold air to work with too. So yeah, definitely some cold air to work with. I'll be curious to see how much of John's kind of the southern border, how much can get pulled up into this. And you can maybe get something interesting to happen. You can get something interesting to happen here. Um, yeah, that's a good area to watch for the Tuesday Wednesday system. I think that's a good area to watch for that from the 1 to 2, 3 to 6, somewhere in that range. Um, Probably pretty minor though, because there's not a ton of moisture with. Right, you can have the VOR profile, but you don't have the moisture to work with. You don't have the moisture to pull in with this system. You're not going to get a lot of precip. So, any other questions about the Tuesday Wednesday system or the whatever Friday Saturday is it? Saturday Sunday Friday Saturday. When is that? Tuesday Wednesday. The system is Tuesday, Wednesday, or is it Monday? The system is it? Oh, it's Monday. I read that completely wrong. No, you're right. Thank you for correcting me. They look so similar. I didn't even notice. Um, I didn't look since last night, so thank you for correcting me. I mean, that's pretty damn similar if you ask me. Um, it's it's the same. It's the same thoughts. Next Monday. Monday, some 1 to 3 potential. I guess theoretically, you could watch out for this one too. You can pull this more a little bit to get another minor snow event for similar. So I would watch out for that one too. Um, a little bit more to back and work with this one. A little bit more moisture you can potentially tap in, but not as organized as an upper level low as the next one that comes in. So nothing too exciting early next week, but um, something some moon for people. Enough snow in the middle that can wreak havoc, I guess technically, but for some reason handle they don't know how to handle snow because you're 100 miles south of the Northeast, but it is what it is. Theoretically, I would see like why aren't we getting more snow to break out? Why aren't we getting snow to break out in the southeast of New England? But so it has a little bit of rain, but yeah, that was the system I was just talking about. We kind of butchered. They look similar, so it was a little bit. I mean, yeah, I mean, same reasons. Right? Get to watch out for some snow in these. Doesn't mean everyone will see snow in here, but I think this general reason to look at going to 1 to 3. I would look at right there, right there in that neighborhood. PA, Jersey. It's like not enough moisture to work with back in India and Ohio potentially, but PA, Jersey, New York City. Maybe Charles having a field day. It's like get Reggie again. Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, right in there, right in there. You can get coat and two. That's morning commute too. That morning commute, like time at 7, 8, 9 a.m. New York City, just to slush up the roads. It's never that's bad timing. You could Maryland gets in 2 hour delays if you in the metro. Philly, if Philly stays snow, it's just Philly can stay snow. Philly metro that stays snow, northern New Jersey, New York City, you could maybe get some 2 hour delays if you're lucky. The high res, no, it's not that model's not the end all be all. Yeah, not the greatest resolution, but yeah, not as good as a look. Not a great look on the Euro and mining at 500, but something. All right, that's all I got. As long as you guys are all wrapped up too, appreciate everyone that came in. I don't think there's gonna be a lot unless all models show a snowstorm tomorrow, and even then, remember what I said. So I'll wait for it to come ashore. Unless we get some better agreement tomorrow, I don't think we have a reason to strain. Even then, still not going to be the final solution. So, I'd probably be not going to this. So tomorrow or Tuesday, probably do a stream. So appreciate everyone. No problem. Enjoy it. Thanks for talking about this, and then enjoy it when you do it. So appreciate everyone that came.